Hi, my name's Mark. I'm one of the pastors here at Trillium. We have at Trillium a feature that's common in many churches. We have pews. You know, pews were actually created in a time when people believed that being uncomfortable was actually a good thing for us. And so they're designed to be uncomfortable. And if you've ever sat in one, you can attest to that. We've tried to modify the pew here by putting padding on the seats to make it a bit more comfortable. If you go to a newly designed church, a modern church, you'll likely get better seating, more comfortable seating at least. If you're lucky, you'll get that theater-style seating you get at the Galaxy Theater. I've always thought at Trillium we should, get a couple of lazy boys in for the really strong financial giver or the committed volunteer to make their stay on a Sunday morning more comfortable. But then on the other hand, I think most of us can testify to the truth that we've grown most in life through the uncomfortable circumstances we found ourselves in. Through the distress and the hardship of life, we often find that qualities in us rise up that we didn't know about, or we find a certain strength or tenacity in us that reveals itself in the hard places. I certainly, when I look back on my life, see the hard places as the places I've most grown. There was a newscaster, an anchor named Tom Brokaw, who wrote a book 20 years ago called The Greatest Generation. And he wrote the book about the generation that got through the Depression and World War II as adults. So we're looking at people born roughly in 1910 to 1925. And he calls them the greatest generation, and that's a bit of a hype, American hype, but he calls them the greatest generation because of the character they exemplified in their journey through the Depression and World War II. This tenacious ability to endure hardship, this strength to even thrive in uncomfortable places, to move through distress to a better place, an unwillingness to give up, this indomitable spirit that gets people through hard circumstances. And it got people through the Depression. And the kinds of sacrifices people had to make in Canada and the US during World War II is what laid the foundation for victory in 1945. Without those kinds of sacrifices, we might not have won World War II. And I recognize that this tenaciousness and this ability to endure the uncomfortable has not translated well into following generations. And it's because after World War II, the whole society that we've been a part of here shifted towards comfort, away from discomfort or the uncomfortable. Everything that we've seen unfold over the last 50 or 60 years is about trying to make our lives more and more comfortable, easier. And of course, the challenge in that is, well, where's the opportunities to grow? Today, we live in a culture that's committed to trying to affirm people, not so much challenge them. You see that in the school system, you see that in the media presentations. People, even in church, go to be affirmed and not challenged. And yet, it's in the challenge for us that we find life. I get a review every year at Trillium, an annual review. And in that review, I get affirmed in the positive things that I'm doing, but I also get challenged in the critique of things I could do better. And when I look back, I realize I've grown principally through the critique of challenge. And I'm giving thanks more and more for those wonderful little kernels of truth that have come to me, that have caused me to look at myself in new ways and to grow in response to them. The challenge of life is something that we need, and yet in that challenge, we move into the world of the uncomfortable. When Jesus says, take up your cross and follow after me, he's asking us to walk the uncomfortable path. One that, on the face of it, is something that we might avoid. We would choose the comfortable instead, but with the understanding that on the uncomfortable path is life, even eternal life. I'd like to be in a church where not only the staff got reviewed, but every congregant got an annual review, a chance to look at their positives and be affirmed in them, but also to be challenged in the areas they need to grow in. I could see huge benefit to that. But I wonder if anyone would come to a church where we were all affirmed and challenged. We were all encouraged to move from the comfortable way into the uncomfortable.